Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. Someone who is born with the sun in Virgo is here to purify. Now, it doesn't always come off that way, and if you don't have a trained eye or ear, you can feel judged and criticized when a Virgo is around, because what they do, it's like their love language. They listen to you, they watch what you're doing, and they point out what's not working, what you're doing wrong, and what you can do better. And the reason why they want to do this in every area of their life, not only towards their partner, is because when you fix all of the things that are wrong, then you are often left purified, clean, clear. You're able to think clearly. You're able to connect with soul. There's often a spiritual component to a Virgo. They're the opposite of Pisces, and they are big on acts of service. That's often their love language. They have a huge focus on health, routines, systems. They are quick thinkers. It can be really hard to calm their body down at the end of the night. That's how it manifests. It's ruled by Mercury. And so they have an amazing capacity to analyze information and to synthesize information, but it can sometimes manifest in the nervous system as being like jittery or on edge. They can kind of sleep with one eye open. Virgo is the second earth sign, and so it takes Taurus's competence, skill set, and confidence, self-confidence, and it goes, okay, how can we apply this to serve more people? How can we market this? How can we sell this? What systems do we need to have in place? What processes does this require? They like to cut labor in half, but they're also very laborious at the same time. They enjoy working and they like being of service, but they just want to cut the steps in half. They like hacking things, taking shortcuts. They will study information. As I said, they're ruled by Mercury, and so they'll study patterns until they have them mastered and figured out, and then they'll find a way to advance the system. Pure, undisturbed Virgo is so neat and tidy. Now, I know very many Virgos who are a complete, it's chaos. In their mind, it's chaos, but it's because of the other placements. Pure Virgo will color coordinate things. Everything will have a label. Everything has a place. Everything has a home, because that way things run efficiently. If there's stuff on the floor, they can't move as quickly as they want. Now, another side to Virgo is when they're overstimulated. What they will do is they'll turn to Pisces qualities. They will turn to escapist tendencies, and this can manifest in multiple different ways. The most obvious one that I've seen is Virgos can often drink quite heavily when they are overwhelmed. So if you see a Virgo really throwing them back, it's because they are taking on so much, they're doing so much, and they're probably not giving themselves the pat on the back that they deserve. In fact, that is the one thing that they do not do is they accomplish things, and as soon as it's accomplished, they're like, yeah, I was supposed to do that. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so there is never that moment of wow, like they don't have a sense of accomplishment after they do something. They feel like they just have to keep going, and they have a to-do list, and they keep adding to it, and they just keep going nonstop. And so it's really helpful for them, and I'll go into this when I talk about specific signs. It's really helpful for them to have a partner who makes them pause and appreciate themselves. The risk that Virgo runs, where they can kind of get confused, is that they want to be of service, but they oftentimes put themselves in the position of being a servant to a job, to a partner, and it takes multiple experiences of them just running on E before they recognize that there is a way to be available to people and to be helpful and to make an impact, but not at the expense of their mental health and their physical well-being. They will do anything for the person that they love. But should they? You know, like that's the balance. Should they? When I think of Virgo, I think of that movie Holes, and that character who's like, I can fix that. They always show up, I can fix that, I can do that. Oh, gorgeous. So let's talk about some deal breakers as it relates to a Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Though it is changeable, mutable, flexible, understanding, empathetic, tolerant, it will not tolerate someone who is duplicitous and untrustworthy. They don't like someone who is unreliable. They won't tolerate, say, someone who has like someone who is like a bee, you know, going from flower to flower. They want commitment. They want loyalty. They want someone who is in it for the long haul. Because they are so dedicated and so loyal, they don't like mind games, and they do not tolerate emotional manipulation. If you're going to be playing those games, they're going to be very quickly disinterested, and they will tell you. They'll be like, you know what? No, you're immature and you have tons of work to do, and they'll list all of the reasons why they can't be with you, and then they'll just walk away. This is not an absolute truism for every Virgo in the world, but from my personal experience, I find that Virgos are always in a job that requires serving the community. And this can manifest as something as simple as like working as a mailman, or being a nurse, or being an esthetician. Like there's some skill that they develop that allows them to be of service to the community. But largely they're in healthcare, or they have a strong interest in health. Like how good is the quality of food that you're eating? How balanced is your diet? They're all over vitality, health. It goes back to like that they're represented by the Virgin, like Mother Teresa, someone who shows up for others, who has like a heart that never gets tired. So I would be curious to see, you know, if your Virgo is in that type of work. Someone with their sun in Capricorn has a soul that came to earth to learn that when you work productively, you learn patience, persistence, and perseverance. Now, something that not a lot of astrologers talk about, which I find completely baffling, is that Neptune was in Capricorn from 1984 until 1998. And this is a huge influence because, yes, Capricorns are hard workers, and they typically, stereotypically, archetypally know who they are and what they want to do. With Neptune here, you can actually get a character that has no idea who they are. It's almost as if they are Piscean, Capricornian characters. You're dealing with a Capricorn who was born in that time. You might notice that they have a hard time establishing an ego or seeing themselves clearly. There is this, it's almost as if when you take a shower and the mirror is fogged and you try to look at yourself, you can't see yourself. That is the Capricorn with Neptune on the sun. So back to Capricorn energy. Capricorn is the third earth sign. It is the most mature. It takes the security and the competence from Taurus. It takes the systems that Virgo has created, and it goes, okay, how do we turn this into a company? How do we sell this? How do we market this? How do we create revenue? How do we provide for the masses? It's a universally oriented sign. These are typically like the bosses because they are focused on order of operations. They like things done in a specific way. They keep a list of things to do, and they like to check those things off. They get off to being productive. Capricorn is naturally ruled by the planet Saturn, and that's the planet with the ring around it, which is perfect because Capricorn, Saturn energy, it's all about restriction, constriction, knowing boundaries, exercising boundaries, bending to authority, really wanting a position that gives you authority and power. And so oftentimes what you'll find with these people is it's hard for them to play and have fun, to experience joy, because if you're playing around all day, you're not going to be as productive, right? It goes against their motive to be persistent and patient and to persevere against all odds. It's thinking the long haul. What are the decisions that I can make every single day that will turn my life into a legacy? What is my great work? And that is something that will stick with Capricorn their whole lives. Now, something they may not realize is that some of their greatest work is going to be internal. It's going to be something that nobody else sees. They are in so many ways proving themselves to themselves, similar to Taurus, but on a greater scale. The stakes are so much higher. They're in the public eye. And along with that, they care a lot about how other people view them. They want to come off as professional and polished. They like their clothes like ironed. They like neutrals, or they just like to give the look like they are all about their business. And if they don't, you can tell depression has many correlations with Saturn energy or Capricorn energy. And so that's their default. And when they're depressed, it's their body trying to scream at them like, this isn't working. This ego that you are working to accomplish. And as a preface, or for clarification, I don't demonize the ego. I think that everyone has one and it must serve a purpose, and the ego is trainable. That's the beauty. You can always train your ego to be in service to your soul. So I'm not slamming egos. Depression is always a call from the soul, and it's saying, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to live this life anymore. I'm tapping out. And when you have that perspective, when you have that awareness, then you're able to adjust your schedule. And it will be something that you have to manage on the outside. And then as you do it, as you start moving your body through the adjustment in your schedule, you'll start to reconnect with yourself, or Capricorn will start to reconnect with themselves. It will also manifest by their habits and their behaviors. When they're not working, they'll work until they're exhausted, and then they'll come home and they'll want to drink or they'll want to smoke. They just want out. Okay, so Capricorns in relationships specifically, it is a duty. It is something that is similar to a job. They want to show up, and they want to show up every day, and they expect that you're going to show up every day. And more than that, they will exercise their own restrictions and expectations onto you. They want you to get on board with their schedule. They are a leadership sign. They're a cardinal sign. And so you will find that they really take you under their wing, and they want you guys to excel together. In my personal experience, I found that Capricorn does appreciate partnership, but it doesn't do the flings. It wants marriage. It wants kids. It wants the earthly representations of accomplishment. They are reliable. They are consistent. They are on top of it. They're on top of what you're doing, what you're not doing, what you should be doing. And they have an eye for things that are flawed, and they'll point it out to you. They can kind of have a more serious or stoic attitude towards life, and it is very matter of fact when you're with them. They have this dry quality to their personality that people can find endearing. Now, some deal breakers with Capricorn. If you are not thinking long term, if you don't want a serious relationship, if you don't want to be married or have children or buy a house or grow old together, that is a Capricorn thing, then they will dismiss you quite quickly. They don't want to entertain games, and they don't appreciate when you try and toy with them because they will show up for you. They take life seriously, and they take themselves seriously, which means they also take you seriously, and they expect you to act as a mature, grown, and responsible adult at all times. Now, if you're someone who's a little bit more spontaneous, like for example, in my personal experience with Capricorn, I like to do things on a whim. I can't stand a plan. I like just putting myself out there and having a fun time, watching where life takes me. If you have that type of an attitude, they are going to contract. They may get on board depending on their other placements, but there's something inside of them that gets nervous, and they kind of like do this, you know, they don't like it, and they might judge you, and they may call you impulsive. They don't appreciate impulsivity. They don't appreciate things that are done on a whim because it's not well thought out. You're not thinking of the consequences of your actions. What if you get lost? What if you run out of money? What if blah, 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 blah. They're going to name all the cautionary things that you didn't think about as you're trying to bungee jump off of a cliff. Piggybacking on that, they are risk averse. They don't like putting themselves in situations where they may fail, because what does that show about them? What does that prove about them? That means that they aren't this authoritarian character or authoritative character, depending on whichever one they subscribe to, high functioning, low functioning. They don't like to look stupid. They like to come off as someone who can manage the masses. And so they will avoid situations where there is a greater probability that they will fall on their face, or they have a hard time surrendering to the unknown. And they will criticize you for putting yourself in that situation until they see that you have been successful. So if you're someone who enjoys challenge, risk, and thrills, expect to have like a sit down conversation where it's like they're the principal and you're the student, and they're like, listen to me. This is the rules. This is what we do. Another thing they won't appreciate is if you don't take your life seriously. If you are not accomplishing things on a daily basis, or if you have nothing to prove for your day or your energy or your effort, they like to show their person off. They like to feel as if they have also won a prize. They are a prize, and so is their person. They like the power couple idea. And so if you are a little bit, if you're not as ambitious, or if your ambitions don't yield material, again, representations of success and accomplishment, they're not going to gravitate towards you. But all in all, they're about their business. And if you are with them, then you are their business. So they're focused on the long term. They want commitment. They will show up for you. They will want to provide for you. They will want to make you feel like your relationship is stable and your home space is stable, and you guys can do whatever you like because you have the funds in the bank. Sun in Virgo, Sun in Capricorn. Here, elementally, we have two people who kind of view the world through a similar lens. They're earth signs, which means that they're both introverted, which in English means that they charge by literally resting, sleeping, being at home, being comfy, cozy, and they lose energy the moment that they start moving their body. Now, if you are a Virgo or Capricorn, you're thinking, well, duh, isn't that how it works for everybody? No. For fire and air signs, they don't generate energy in the same way that you do. They have to move their body in order to feel charged. And so you guys won't ever have any issues around what a self-care Sunday looks like, what vacations look like, what activities that we're going to do, how long we can do those activities. You guys are running on the same cycle, or you guys have a similar rhythm. Now, Virgo is a mutable sign and Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So Capricorn will want to take leadership or control over the relationship dynamic, and Virgo tends to go with the flow. It likes to be in devotion and service to its partner. It likes making its partner feel good. And so again, we have a little bit of ease with the relationship dynamic. Virgo will help Capricorn in many ways. Virgo likes to focus on health and balanced diet and colorful foods, and Capricorn actually has so much pressure that it puts on itself by even just, being ruled by the planet Saturn. Capricorns have a vicious self-talk. And the best way that I can tell you to understand it is pay attention how they talk to others, because that is, a key telltale how someone talks to themselves. And so though Capricorn may come off quite cold and judgmental and critical, Virgo really won't shy away from the criticism as much, but we'll get to that later. That is exactly how Capricorn talks to itself. And so in turn, what happens is Capricorn's body becomes really stiff and immovable. They are inflexible, generally speaking. And Virgo is all about motion and movement. And so Virgo will initiate little play dates, even though neither one of them will think of it as a play date. They'll think about it as like, we're going on a hike today, or we're going on a walk. Virgo will make sure that Capricorn stays in motion and a little bit more in tune with its body than it would naturally do. Virgo will also like to prepare food for Capricorn, and Capricorn likes being served. It makes it feel respected and cared for and seen. And so Virgo is a good combination or a good match for Capricorn. And Capricorn can benefit Virgo because Virgo runs the risk of being a servant, specifically in the workplace. I find them around executives or bosses or companies that want them to work incredibly hard but not pay them for their time or for their service. And when Capricorn here is not being paid for a service, not being paid fairly, Capricorn will give Virgo the language and the permission slip to ask for more. Capricorn helps Virgo establish a sense of value, because even though Virgo generates value and it likes helping, it literally gets off to the idea of contributing in a meaningful way, it doesn't necessarily think that it is valuable. And so Capricorn, looking at it very practically, will be like, well, let's look at your hours, and help Virgo feel like it has a backbone These are two people who will enjoy talking about what's happening in the world. They will enjoy talking about the news, the state of the economy, and the stock market. They want to share information. And whereas some people may tune out when Virgo starts talking about statistics or how systems are failing, Capricorn is paying attention to that because that's where it wants to invest its money, right? The data that Virgo is interested in directly affects usually the line of work or the perspective that Capricorn is trying to gain. And so these two can make really smart investments together, Capricorn having the means and Virgo having the information. And so again, a great tag team. Virgo also tends to be a little bit of a worry wart. It's anxious by nature because it's ruled by Mercury. And so because Virgo is an earth sign, instead of it being really up in its head, it kind of feels like this jittery energy is all over their body. It's hard for them to sit still. They need to-do lists and they need to cross the things off of their to-do list, and they just keep adding more and more on it. And then they look at all the things that they have to do and they don't appreciate how much that they've done. They tend to look at what can go wrong, what is going wrong. And for other signs, like fire and air signs, they might look at that and be like, oh my God, you are just creating your own tragedies. You're putting yourself through, sorry, I'm getting the hiccups. You're putting yourself through this you're putting yourself through mental gymnastics for no reason. Even though Capricorn is very judgmental, it will not look at Virgo's compulsions to assume the worst or be prepared for the worst as a bad quality. It won't view it as a Debbie Downer because they share that characteristic. I mean, all earth signs will think about cause and effect. And on different scales, Taurus is thinking cause and effect in its personal life. Virgo is thinking cause and effect in its immediate environment and the people who are closest to it. And Capricorn is thinking cause and effect as it relates to society or the country. And so there's support there. There is an ability to talk extensively about all the which ways something can go wrong. And this is how the earth signs create a sense of stability. And this is how they are able to remain poised when tragedy happens, because oftentimes they've thought it through already. A couple of problem areas. I would say that Capricorn finds Virgo to be inconsistent. Virgo is a mutable sign, which means that it likes to have flexibility within its schedule because, unforeseen circumstances, challenges, opportunities will present themselves and they want the freedom to adjust. That changeability is what makes their life interesting, what keeps their brain stimulated, what keeps their body in motion. And so it benefits a Virgo to not be so strict and structured, but that is what Capricorn prizes. That's what makes Capricorn feel stable and secure, is knowing what to expect and when to expect it. And so when Virgo changes the plans last minute, it can make a Capricorn feel like, well, you're kind of unreliable, though you kind of are, and it will be hard for a Capricorn to, they're not going to cut ties because of it, but they will recognize an inconsistency between what they say they're going to do and how often they actually follow through at the time that they say that they're going to. Another issue that Capricorn will have with Virgo is trust. Now, yes, they see the world similarly. Yes, they are great partners in any endeavor that they, dedicate their time and energy to. But Virgo has loose lips, and Capricorn likes to keep a lot of things out of the public's eye because it wants to be seen as someone who is respectable, someone who is a leader, someone who we are working towards becoming, or Capricorn likes to be the standard, but it doesn't mean that Capricorn doesn't go through tough and embarrassing shit behind closed doors. And it needs someone to talk that out with, ideally a partner. And so when it speaks, it wants to speak in confidence that it's going to stay between the two of you. But Virgo has incredibly loose lips. And so it will listen to very caringly, it will listen to what Capricorn is complaining about and who Capricorn is complaining about, but it may go directly to that person that Capricorn does not want to know and, say, hey, Capricorn is having a problem with you. And in Capricorn's mind, it's not like a breath of fresh air or relief, like, oh, now here I can solve and resolve this issue with this person. Capricorn thinks about it as like, no, I wanted to hold on to that. I've made a judgment call, or I've made a judgment about that person. And I'm really frustrated that you betrayed me in that way. Speaking of which, Virgo will have an issue with how judgmental Capricorn is. Now you're probably thinking, well, Virgo is like the queen or king of criticism, and it is incredibly hard on itself. But the difference between Virgo criticism and Capricorn criticism, or Virgo judgment and Capricorn judgment, is that when a Capricorn makes a judgment on someone, it's often to create a sense of superiority or authority. They do it in a way to like suppress. I mean, it's not intentional, but when a Capricorn makes a judgment about somebody, they're lowering them. When a Virgo makes a judgment about somebody, they are supporting them and pointing out something that they can work on. And because because Virgo is so focused on all of the flaws in itself and in the world, there's an insecurity there that they're not able to solve everything at once within a snap of a finger. And so when Capricorn comes in and shares the criticisms from a place of like wanting to win, wanting to be better, wanting to just cast judgment, it can deeply affect and hurt a Virgo. Now, these are two, kind of unemotional signs, but I think that it's just like, like words hurt more than fists. I mean, there's a better saying to it. Virgo will also find Capricorn to be controlling. As I was saying earlier, Capricorn finds peace, a sense of success and stability and structures, but sometimes Capricorn strangles life like by its hands because it wants so much control and authority. It wants to make sure that everything is okay. There's an enormous pressure to perform, and unwillingly or unknowingly, Capricorn can place that type of stress, that type of control. It can exert that type of control over its partner because it's not managing its stress wisely. And so Virgo may think that its own rhythms and flows aren't important to Capricorn, and Capricorn will affirm that it's not. It wants people to follow it. Capricorn in Tarot is the devil. And that sounds terrible, that they are, relentless and ruthless sometimes, but what the energy is really about is the ways in which we willingly surrender our power and control because we are not wanting to take accountability for our emotions. So what happens in a Capricorn's mind is they have all these things to do. The mountain is so high to climb that they actually divorce the emotional body over an extended period of time. And the emotional body feels starved. It's like there's a hole, like there's a hunger that's never fed. And because Capricorn doesn't inherently, unless you have water sign placements like a moon in Cancer, or, any other kind of water placements, there isn't an ambivalence or an avoidance of emotions. But it doesn't mean that the needs just go away. And so what happens is Capricorn will resort to escapist tendencies, especially if it is someone who has like Neptune on the sun. As if you didn't watch the beginning of the video, I list the specific years when Neptune was in Capricorn. These are people who, when their emotions, they actually are quite sensitive, and when they're overwhelmed, they will smoke every day, they'll drink, they'll be on the computer, they'll watch TV. They essentially want out. And Virgo, being so aware of like wellness and balance, may point it out to Capricorn. And I do think that because of Virgo's loving approach, and kind of Virgo isn't out here measuring dicks with Capricorn. So I think that the way that Virgo presents like Capricorn's imbalance with emotions and its mind will make Capricorn more receptive, and Virgo won't even have to essentially like talk about it. Sometimes, Virgo is just in charge of the meals, or Virgo can put on like, hey, we're going to do date night on this night, and they can find other ways to help Capricorn manage their emotions. So that's a positive. But immediately, this is just what comes to my mind. If you would like to learn more about either your Virgo, your Capricorn, or your birth chart, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services. Toodles.